3.
The
2.
The book this month is The Last Thing You Wanted
Last Thing You Wanted
by Joan Didion.
by Joan Didion.
So, how did everybody like the book?
Well, first of all, Jason, I want to thank you for suggesting this book. I had forgotten how much I love this woman.
Joan Didion.
I just really loved it, and it made me wonder why I haven't been reading
All of her stuff.
all these years. It's been
Yeah.
a long time since I've read a Joan Didion book.
I've never read, Bill and I have never read Joan Didion.
Jen,
But I've always seen her in the background, and I've always wondered, and now I know partially, but really this wasn't one of her best books.
What? I can't remember the title of the book that she wrote about her daughter and her husband. That's the only book of hers I've
You're
read.
magical.
Yeah,
Yes.
which I found that
Did
fascinating.
you read that one?
I read that one. This book was a little harder.
Yes.
It was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Is
It wasn't.
And then partly I'm like, I need to start reading higher literature to figure out what we're doing.
Which one of her books
what-
do you want to read next?
Well, I don't know all of them.
Is the Bethlehem
Yes.
book one that's maybe
That's
better
her
known?
first one.
Okay.
Yeah. Slouching to Bethlehem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Slouching Through Bethlehem. I think that was the first one I read, and that was in the 70s.
Yeah, that was one of her first ones.
Is that the Hate Ashbury?
Thinking.
Deal with hate?
Yeah, that was an amazing
Oh,
book.
The
yeah.
White Album. Some of her books are essays, and some of her books are fiction.
Blue Nights, a memoir.
Yeah,
I-
I would like to read,
I wanna read
something
Miami.
else.
Yeah, the way they talked about it in this
The
book.
the White Album essays.
This was hard to believe because I had a hard time believing she would go on
This is
a
the one
mission
that-
for her father,
Yeah.
not
good.
knowing what the mission was about, that it ended up dealing with the Iranian Sandinista contraband guns, and she's in the middle of it. How did she get herself like
She didn't.
wrapped up into that?
Well, she knew
it was
what he
up-
dealt
yeah.
with. She knew what business he was in.
I thought she
just-
never knew.
Oh, no, she knew.
Yeah. And it was always already underway. All she had to do was show up.
Yeah.
No,
So-
she was like
She went into
she was
it
like working for the press. She was looking for a way in.
to figure out what
and
was
her-
going on,
Her dad, yeah,
to write about it.
Oh, you think she was looking for this?
researching. Yeah, she was researching it.
Initially, she was writing stories about what was going on with the Iran.
Was she? Are you talking about the narrator? Or are you talking about
The character.
Elena?
Elena.
Her
Because I
as
think the
her
narrator
as a
was-
journalist.
That's the narrator.
The narrator
No.
was investigating all this stuff.
Elena, the daughter, right? She,
No.
She's not the narrator.
No.
Elena is not the
Oh
narrator.
God.
She's
Who
not-
is the
no.
narrator?
Oh, we totally.
Yeah, who knows who the narrator
Lillian
Oh,
something.
did they name her?
Did they-
John?
yeah.
When?
Okay.
Lillian, yeah, only once, I think.
Yeah.
So Elena was
and the narrator are
purely
two
in it
different
to
people.
get the money for her father.
Because of her
She
father's
wanted the
alcohol.
money, and
Well-
she wasn't going to leave until she got that
Well,
money.
okay, page
But
5, Lillian Owen. So early on,
We thought she was one and the same.
but we're making judgment on why Elaine is doing all this. But the book is starting out here. I was trying to find the exact quote where she says, Lillian says, "I want to know what made her do this. I want to know what motivated her." And she came back to that several times. So to me, part of this is an honest attempt to find out how Elena got in, what motivated her to get into that position. And of course, it's very mysterious all the way through. We don't know what she's talking about half the time, but it comes back and she explains herself, later. But I think she wants us to do exactly what you're doing.
She couldn't leave until she got the payout.
Well, we
Because
don't.
That's what her dad wanted her to get.
Well,
is
that's
the
what we're
payout.
trying to we're trying to decide that, I think,
Right.
ourselves in reading this.
Yeah.
Well, I
But she
think
could have left. I mean, but, yeah,
But she
so
did not
decided.
want to. If she left, she felt like she would never get the payout.
Well, I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know if she was interested so much in the money itself as the whole process, the whole activity that he was in, the spying and the this and the that. I was always curious about that. Was it about the money or was it about the intrigue and the unknown and that? I don't know. Which makes her a good writer because you don't know exactly what's going on.
I mean, I think she did want for her dad. I mean, that was what he told her: get the money, get out.
Yeah.
You know? And she wanted it to complete the task for her father. But and at a certain point, she was like, I don't care anymore. I just want to get out. And that's when her passport disappeared, and she couldn't leave. So
Why did her passport? Why did that happen with
Well,
her
that was all
They're onto her.
arranged by the CIA to set her up to not leave.
And to cover for somebody
the
else,
whole
I'm guessing.
plan was to kill her father when
Yes.
he got there and completed the deal. That was the plan.
So that he wouldn't tell anyone what had happened?
Well, they wanted, my understanding
Yeah.
is they wanted an incident. They wanted something to happen that would turn
The government, the CIA?
that would change Congress's mind about getting involved in all this stuff.
So they were going to kill us. Was it
An
senator?
American.
Well, they were going to kill her father.
An American,
An
I think it's a
And they
good
were
point.
going to assassinate the ambassador, I guess.
Right, and set her father up as the
Yeah, set her father up as the assassin and kill
For-
him in the
for them,
process.
yeah.
And then when she showed up instead, then it changed. Now it's her.
Mm-hmm.
And
How do we justify this?
And Treat was one in the CIA that had been involved in the whole setting it up.
no, I don't think so. I
No,
think
no,
he-
Bob Weir.
Yeah.
Oh, Bob.
At the very end, we ran into
Was he
Bob
the
Weir.
young guy?
I think so.
Oh yeah, who was the young senator? Was it Mark?
Well, it was
Anyway.
his aide.
Yeah,
There
the
was a
senator
and
had
then
nothing
there
to
was
do
his
with
aide, and
it.
his
Yeah.
aide was the one who was, to me,
Pulling the
seemed
trigger.
very underhanded.
Yeah.
You know who I kept thinking of when I read about this? Aide was Pyle in The Quiet American.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I kept thinking it's the same kind of deal. You know, he doesn't have any power himself, but he's hooked up with people who do, and he kind of worms his way around into
Yeah.
stuff. I just
But the exception there being that Pyle was really innocent in it. He had this idealistic vision.
yeah.
And so that was his innocence in what he was trying to accomplish. This guy
Yeah,
knows
he's not-
exactly
was a snake,
Yeah, he's
what
not,
he's setting
not
up.
innocent. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
So do you think Joan, like most of this is made up? That's totally fiction. But there was contraband being sold to the Sandinistas.
No, I mean it's an alternative version of what actually happened because the Iran Contra was there, and then you know what legal mind was involved in the Iran Contra affair. Bill Barr, who was actually there.
Well, what's he then?
Oh, I believe that.
So a lawyer on the side.
And I some wondered if it was almost like not necessarily a parody, but it was almost like, did this really happen, or is she just writing this brilliantly to say how ludicrous, or how do you know what's going on?
Yeah.
All the people who
So
were
when she
playing.
wrote this, how many years had it been since it actually happened?
This was written
With
in
Reagan.
'96.
12?
10 years.
So it was 10 years later after Reagan, and who was the guy, the big guy that was involved? That
Oliver
guy?
North.
Oliver North. So it was about 10 years later, and she wrote this story.
Mhm.
It's very.
So we
she's
watched this
brilliant.
movie, the Joan Didion movie on Netflix. Did you watch it? And she became obsessed. I mean, Patty watched the whole thing, I think, but I caught snippets of it. She kind of became obsessed with this whole Iran Contra thing. So she researched it. I mean, I think that's one of the neat things about her.
Elena or Joan Didion.
Joan Didion. And I think that that's one of the things about her is like she was really good with detail.
Yeah.
Well,
Chris.
you could tell. I mean, just
Yeah.
the way
Yeah.
she was talking about the arms and the chemicals and
Yeah.
all this stuff she would list off.
And
So-
being in San Juan, Costa Rica, I mean, it seems like she had to have been there too. I loved the woman that portrayed her, the journalistic buddy that helped her get this story through. Do you remember her name in the movie?
Mm-mm.
Oh, she's Spanish lady that's just so good. Anyway,
So did anybody watch?
well, I guess the movie ended up different than the book. Though.
Yeah, I watched parts of the movie too.
the movie of the book?
Yeah,
But it ended up different.
Ben-
Jen told me
Ben
a
Affleck.
different person kills her in the end.
Ben Affleck.
Is Treat.
He plays Treat.
Yeah, I figured.
Who played her? Who played?
Oh,
Hathaway.
and
Hathaway.
Yeah.
can't quite fathom it.
You watch it? You watch it?
No.
Don't
Well, that-
quite.
I've never seen so many critical reviews of the movie.
Yeah, I
There
trash.
wasn't any.
Mm-mm.
Nothing
That's why I
complimentary.
didn't watch it.
But on the whole concept of news and all that, I like this one of the quotes. It says, "It occurred to her that possibly what was misleading was the concept of news itself. A liberating thought. She picked up the remote and pressed the mute." So just that's what made me think it was just this whole thing
News
about
in general
who's
can
who's
be-
telling the story and what's true and what's not
And
true.
we know that
You
now
know,
so much.
yeah. So I love that
more
part.
that-
So maybe the news is misleading.
Yeah. And I'm a journalist, by the way.
Well, she kept talking too about the difference between, okay, what is the truth of the situation? Is the truth stemming from the broadcast on TV or the broadcast from the senator's mouth, or is it from the people on the ground? Where is the truth?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what you're saying too.
Well, and what I find interesting is she's in that group of writers that started changing the news from more of a just straight give me the facts thing.
Mhm.
So she was part of that whole group
Mm-hmm.
that was saying,
Have an
should we
opinion.
make it more storytelling? Should
Yeah.
we make it more whatever? Should we make it more whatever rather than just the traditional news of just give me the facts, ma'am? So that's interesting.
Gonzo journalism.
Yeah, it tied back to
Yeah.
your pick last time.
Mhm.
Was what's his name?
Hunter Thompson.
Hunter Thompson, the
Yeah.
Gonzo journalist. Yeah.
Yeah, where they actually have an opinion. And
And look where that got us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know of her, so it's like
You had not heard of John Denny?
Uh-uh.
Wow.
And I was like,
No, Bill Reed's
The-
architectural magazine.
Upstairs
just the
and
whole learning who she was and everything was pretty interesting. Because this Netflix movie on her, she's living with her husband and out in California, and Harrison Ford in real life is like their carpenter.
At their
You know?
Malibu estate. Have you guys seen that
and they're-
documentary?
I can't remember if I saw it or not.
And
It's
they're- they-
beautiful.
we went to the Salt in the Theater.
Oh,
It's
They would have
beautiful.
these
The
dinner
documentary
parties,
is wonderful.
and
She
Warren
talks
Beatty
through the
would
whole
come
thing.
and he would say, "Can you sit me next to Joan?"
Joan.
Because he
Warren
was just
Beatty had a
infatuated with her.
crush
Whoa.
on. She was beautiful.
Yeah, when
Wow,
she
she was
young.
good looking.
She
in her
was
20s
beautiful.
and
She's
30s, yeah.
still an adorable looking lady in the end, but she had Parkinson's or something,
And-
right?
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
And then, tonight we were talking to the young gal that lives across the street from us, and she said, "So she was big in women's liber." And Patty said, "Well, not really,
No.
not really.
No,
she
was
like.
not.
I mean, it almost sounded like her husband was pretty rough on her.
He was very rough on her. He was abusive to a point.
Like-
And she bowed down to him. Kowtowed? Bowed down. She
Me-
bowed down.
He ate all of her food.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was the boss of the house.
Yeah.
Although secretly, I think she was. Oh no, she wasn't a woman's liver. She wasn't a woman's
But
liver.
she came off to me as extremely intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, it says that her husband died in 2003, so she had 18 years without him.
Yeah. Yeah, and to
But
me,
she
just
never
because,
remarried. She was.
yeah, but just because her husband was that doesn't mean she still couldn't have had feminist views. Or
Oh,
stood
she had
up for
feminist
that.
views.
Yeah, so
Oh.
just,
Oh, she had.
I was
And
just,
that's what I said to our neighbor because she's like, oh, well, why would I even like her? And I go, oh no, she had feminist views.
I was just mishearing what you were saying. That
And
because
she
her
was-
husband was that she wasn't a feminist, but I
But
misheard.
no, her
Okay.
husband was her everything. And she lost a lot when he died.
well, she did say
Emotionally.
that she was like working hard to just find work of any kind. You know, they're always collecting data and information to try to get in, you know, inside of a topic and bring it to light. So, I mean, she wasn't particularly in the feminist movement, you know, like,
She was not.
anyway, I kind of like to hear how you interpreted the ending of the book. See, they're going, she's with Treat at the end, right?
I thought the ending was
You talk about Elena.
weird.
Elena, yeah.
You talking about Elena or the
She was. You mean the
or
very,
the
very,
narrator.
very, very, very end?
Yeah.
No,
Okay, well,
the
wait.
very end, not the very, very, very
Okay,
end.
well,
She
what's the
is killed.
difference? Maybe.
Start
yeah.
with-
You talk about Elena or the narrator.
When she gets killed?
Does the
Yeah.
narrator
No, but
killed also?
start before
No.
she was killed.
Yeah, Elena
Elena
then.
doesn't get killed.
Start
No.
before
Elena
she
gets
was
shot
killed.
up, right?
Yeah,
Elena's dead.
yeah, and Treat
Yeah,
gets
and Treat
shot,
gets-
but he doesn't die.
He doesn't die?
No, he doesn't die.
Not in the book.
But how does Elena fall for Treat?
well,
why?
that was what I thought was.
Why did Elena fall for
Weird.
Treat? I mean,
Why?
she-
You
yeah.
have to ask Elena.
Yeah.
Well, she's dead.
It's a
We
mystery
can't.
to me.
Because
you
Could be why
read-
she ended up dying. I don't
But
know.
you read the story.
Because in
so
the-
your interpretation of the story why she
because
fell
in
for
the
Treat.
movie, he's played by Ben Affleck, so his
Well,
character
that
is
explains it.
His-
There you go. Well,
his
No.
character
Not-
is appealing.
No, I don't. But Ben Affleck is not a
Well, I think that's
But
I
the
think that
character.
yeah, his character is appealing.
Why?
I mean, they could.
Because it's a powerful man. Why?
I didn't read. I didn't watch the
That's-
movie
Why
until
did he fall for
the
anybody?
That's right.
till I was practically done with the book. I didn't watch the movie, and so I was like, I didn't know who played what. So I was kind of surprised when when Ben Affleck played that character. I
Yeah.
thought, oh, okay. I thought he was some older guy, you know.
Treat.
Treat.
Why do you think she fell for Treat?
I have no idea.
Why
Well, they-
does anyone fall for anyone?
Well, he
no,
was
because they have charisma and
he
they're
was
adorable
helping
and
her.
Have a lot of karma with them.
He was helping her too. He was like she was like the only person that was gonna try to help her get out of there,
Oh,
wasn't he?
That was my
Was he
impression.
going to help her get over
Okay.
there?
No,
She
I
thought
thought
maybe
they
what
hit
might
they
have
hit it
happened.
off. They met and
They
talked,
had
and then they
had-
separated, and then they came back again.
He was friends with his father. He was friends with everybody.
Did
Right?
he know all
Treat.
along he was gonna? Oh, he didn't kill her.
No,
He didn't kill.
No,
In the movie, he kills her.
Yeah.
This
Right.
is why you people cannot be mixing your movies and your books.
the movie is
Because Ben
the,
Affleck had
the
nothing
movie
to
is
do
totally
with it.
different than the
You-
book.
I didn't watch the ending of the movie, so I don't know.
When did you watch
I did not.
I didn't.
My understanding of the
Then how do
movie
you
is she
know?
gets caught with drugs and
Because
all
I
that.
read the
Never had-
synopsis of the
No,
movie.
no, she never did drugs.
No, she didn't do drugs. She got caught with drugs in her car or
No.
something like that.
That didn't happen in the movie.
Okay,
But
because
she
the
got-
summary of the movie I read
No.
said she was.
No, but there was, I mean, no. I think I fell asleep through part of the movie.
Maybe that was the part where she got.
You
caught with
fell
drugs
asleep in the part that tells why she fell for him.
Exactly. Um,
I thought it was a pretty acerbic view of Washington
Oh,
Yeah.
and,
Oh, yeah. That's
and
why I was
politics.
curious if that was her point.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Pretty what?
I,
kind of
and I
view?
had to believe that. Really
Yeah.
acerbic. I mean, it was just, when she everything was throughout the book. Everything was kind of gray.
well,
Nobody talks about any detail. They always talk about things, you know. And
she seemed very liberal. Joan Didion seemed to see things very different than most people see things.
how could? But if you paid any attention to any sort of international politics since the mid '60s, it's all like this, and it's still like this. I mean, this is a
Underground.
No, this is exactly what's going on now. I mean, look at Gaza. I mean, look at the Palestinian thing. It's people. There are people that are talking about it, and things happen, but you don't know any details, and then all of a sudden something breaks open, and then, I mean, it's
Look at Haiti.
look at Haiti.
Oh my
This-
God.
This is a
Haiti
mess that
Look at
we
Haiti.
created.
So
Who
sad.
is supplying?
We created.
Somebody's running armed guns into Haiti, and who's doing that?
And who? I just just found this out today.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
They were going to send Kenyan peacekeepers
Right.
in. You know who's going to pay for those? Us. We were going to pay for the Kenyan guys to go in, and it's just like,
Well, the best thing about down in contract. So Central America, there was no reason for this to have happened. The only reason Reagan picked on this was because there's nothing going on down there, and he thought he could drum up a war.
and get elected.
Right,
Wag the dog.
right, exactly. There was no reason for this to have happened. None, other than just as a publicity thing.
Well,
And
we don't want. We were trying to help the regular
bullshit.
Nicaraguan.
No, it was a dictatorship, and we supported the dictatorship.
Yeah.
Noriega, right?
Because we were scared to death that this leftist communist
Right, it's going to take over.
was going to take over.
Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Guatemala, they were all
Never
Dictatorships.
ever mistake what we do for
For
benevolence.
yeah,
ever.
yeah, right.
It's
Show
all,
me the money.
It's all about
Yeah.
money and power.
Eat.
So is this book typical of her writing style, or does she like? She does other things besides espionage or.
Yeah, her
Yeah.
book about her daughter and husband is definitely a more different.
The
writing.
100 Years of
Urban
Solitude.
narrative.
100 Years of
Memoir.
Solitude, or
no, you're a magical thing.
You're magical. Thank you.
Hmm.
When her daughter was dying in the ICU, but her husband
Her husband had already died. No? Her
died
husband died
on the
first.
same
Then
day
the
that
daughter-
her daughter was in the ICU, and her husband wasn't even sick, and he suddenly died. When they thought the daughter was going to die, the husband dies, and the daughter lives.
But she does.
She does too, though. But yeah. So yes, she writes different. Yeah.
Lots
And
of
I don't know
different-
what the Bethlehem book is about.
So this is very political, but the other books aren't
I've only read one
necessarily
other of her books.
No, she has other
political.
Yeah.
political thrillers. I don't know, what,
Yeah.
three maybe, something like that.
I wonder what her essays are like.
They're collected.
They're kind of the same kind of style as this.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she was a reporter.
for.
New York, a lot of different.
Washington Post.
Yeah, a
actually.
lot of different.
Is she from back east?
magazines.
No, she's California.
She California all the way.
She loved Malibu.
Sacramento.
Sacramento.
Yeah.
Sacramento, yes. That's where I lived for like 11, 12 years.
Mhm.
So the quote I liked was, "I still believe in history." Let me amend that. I still believe in history to the extent that I believe history to be made exclusively and at random by people like Dick McMahon. There are still more people like Dick McMahon around than you might think. Most of them old, but still doing a little business, keeping a hand, an oar in the water, the wolf from the door. They can still line up some Jeeps in the Shreveport. They can still lay hands on some slots in Beaumont. They can still handle the midnight call from the fellow who needs a couple or 300 Savage automatic rifles with telescopic sights. They may not remember all the names they used, but they remember the names they did not use. In other words, the names of the people. They may have trouble sorting out the details of all they knew, but they remember having known it. And that's politics today. I mean, think of all the arms that are out there.
How bright she is to be able to like sum it up like that.
I mean, it's just so immediate. It's
Although it's
hard
not
to believe.
exactly easy to understand. You have to be.
Yeah, I was challenged.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm like, maybe it's because I'm reading it at night. Maybe at 8.
No, and then I try reading in the morning. I'm like, I don't think this helped.
I need a flow chart. I need a.
Yeah. No, I wrote down a lot of names when it first started, and I thought, well, that's not getting me anywhere.
It's not helping.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's
Yeah,
great writer.
there was a lot of characters though, and there are a lot of aliases too.
Yeah.
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 So you're like
she
going,
had
what
several
now?
names.
Who was that character?
Yeah,
And I wasn't willing to go back and find out who the narrator was, so thank you for going.
Oh my gosh.
I did.
I mean,
did
until
too.
now, I thought the narrator and Elena were the same.
Mm-mm.
But now that you
Well, it was.
mentioned,
Well, I think she, you know, in a way, maybe that was her intent because in the first 30 pages or something, I think it was very confusing of when someone started talking. Okay, so Lillian was talking. The next chapter, Elena was talking, and you go a page or two and realize, oh, who is this?
Yeah.
So I think somehow it was somewhat intentional that
yeah,
these are the same women with the same views about something, and the narrator would never gotten herself into this situation for many of the reasons she's mentioned. You know, being a cynic among others, but but so she wanted to find out how could this have happened, you know, and because she is me in a sense, and so she identified with her, I think, a little bit.
Oh.
But it took her 10 years to. I mean, well, actually, it took that report that Treat came up with 10 years later. It got released 7 years after his death. That's what it was. It got released, and she read all those pages and said, "Wait a second, this is nothing like what I thought." And so she went back to bring this story back in front of her again.
I have to read that. I must admit, I'm 73% of the way through. And I watched the movie thinking, oh, well, at least I have an idea of what happened.
They were two different stories.
So I need to read the last 20%.
Or watch the movie again.
No, I need to read the last 23%.
The only thing they have in common is the name of the character.
Oh, they did keep the name.
By the sound
Can
of
I
it.
please put this in?
That'll hurt.
But you know I went back several times, you know, to back up, and it seems like to me at one point I connected, rightfully or not, her mother's death as making her change her internal direction of life, and also a little bit of how she related to her own daughter, but her mother's death. And then this closely came to in time with her father contacting her and not knowing his ex-wife was dead. And so,
No, he just didn't remember she was dead. He knew she was dead. He just kept forgetting.
oh, okay. So I was
My report.
giving him credit, more credit than maybe due. But
He knew, but he kept forgetting.
Yeah. But, so her mother dies, and maybe it's like some of those times where you go, wait a second, I think I love that person, and then you start thinking about that, and then the father is in this crisis where he's got this health situation, but he has this one more deal, and so she walked out of her job. She was also that very successful facilitator or fundraising or something.
Yeah,
And so she got out of all of that, and she went to her dad. She was thinking about her mom maybe, and to me that's what got her into the situation with her mother's death. Had she not died, maybe she wouldn't have gone to see her father, even or paid as much attention, because I guess he was a bullshitter or a forgetter.
Yeah, that was
Forgetter for sure.
That was the part. I couldn't get past that part to get into the real story. It was not plausible to me that she would go, okay, Dad, I'll fulfill your dreams and I'll just go do this for you. I just couldn't get past that to really enjoy the rest of the story.
But in a sense, again, maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but this $1 million he was going to make, and at the end of the book you realize there was no $1 million anywhere. But this $1 million he was going to make with his poor health was going to go to her, most likely.
Yeah.
To his
I
wife.
like that part.
To his.
But
To the daughter.
and there was plenty of millions of dollars going around.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he didn't believe that actually could be possible. And he wanted that to be true. But I couldn't believe that she would actually go step into his.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like John said, he was supposed to get $1 million, but if he didn't get it, his daughter would.
Yes,
So
but
there's
how
that.
did she step into that role for him?
'Cause
Well-
it was all set up. He said just
I'm
just
sorry.
go down there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, she
Just
wanted
go down
in
there and get the
on-
money.
She wanted in on that.
The money.
I mean, I
On the
think in
money
the
or
movie,
what?
yeah, I think in the movie and the book too, she is talking to her editor, her boss.
No, she's not in the book.
Yeah.
Early on, I think she does, but anyway, she's down there for information. She's
Well, yes.
and this is an angle into the
Her and her
Going
buddy
through.
were writing about the Sandinistas and what was going on and how arms were being.
No, that's the
Who
movie.
was?
That's the movie.
her dad.
What?
Her
It's
dad.
a movie.
Her
That's
dad
the movie.
hands her this opportunity on a gold plate.
Yeah.
But she was not down there as a reporter.
No.
No, she wasn't.
No.
She.
No.
Yes,
Nope.
I think she was.
She used her. She used her.
We'll take a look.
Well, she used her credentials to get there.
To get there, but she didn't go down to write the story. She went down to get the.
She
I'm a
kept taking
reporter.
pictures of things to say, like, this is what's actually
I
happening.
will submit information.
The movie?
to
I
support
won't
my
because I ain't
claim.
gonna read
She
the
took
book again.
pictures of the poor.
That's the movie.
Well, I'll tell you, it happens pretty early
The
on.
movie, the
Oh.
only thing
If
in
it
the
happens
movie and
at
the
all.
book have
Yeah,
in
okay.
common is the name of the characters. That's the only thing.
Okay,
The
so
storyline is completely different.
Oh, I think we should sue that movie company.
Oh, let's. Okay, cool.
so
Would you do it for $1 million if your father asked you?
I think the
I would
ratings
do
already
almost
did that.
anything my father
Well,
asked.
see, so that's not it. So yeah, so
So-
that I mean, yeah,
but it was
yeah.
it is
Especially if there was
actually
some sense of
pretty
I think
recent.
you're
pretty-
getting Elena and the narrator mixed up.
Mhm.
The narrator goes
I
down
think
there.
we are.
Yes,
and
correct.
She
And
is
she-
probing around trying
Right.
to find out what's going on.
Mm, that could-
But
Could
Elena
be.
never, as far as I know, she was never in contact with her editor after she
Yeah.
went down there.
yeah, that was
She
my
was-
impression.
And
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but in the movie, I don't think the narrator exists at all.
Yeah, the movie.
Could
should-
be.
Forget the
You
movie.
don't need a narrator here in the movie.
Okay, so we made it through the time, but I want to see what you think about this idea. Like on 1 to 10, how do you rate the book? And we can use this. We can use this when we pick our book of the year.
Oh,
Doesn't
we're
ha-
going to a number system for the book of the year.
No,
See, we're,
not
oh, no.
necessarily,
Not
but we're just
necessarily.
like
Are you going to average the votes for a
We could.
for a
Might be a good
factor?
idea,
we
though.
could. I mean,
Kind of see how you've changed your mind as you guys went through the year.
Yeah. Can I ask?
And I'm
what-
going to watch the movie, and that'll help me a lot with this book.
And-
No, it will help you not at all.
And let me just say, 1 would be the lowest and 10 would be the highest.
Okay.
Okay,
But
look,
if you have not seen the Joan Didion documentary,
Oh yeah, that could be.
with
yeah.
Joan
yeah.
actually telling you her story of her life,
Yeah,
That
I might
would be
enjoy
it.
that. Yeah,
you would
I
love
bet.
that.
Yeah,
Before-
because repeating myself, I love the book that I read of hers. And it was,
The Magical Thinking, the year.
Before we rate it, can I ask
How long
one
was
final
it?
question?
Yeah.
The final question. Okay.
John,
Yeah.
go.
Here we go. So, 2 ways of looking at the title. The last thing he wanted, meaning the father, this is the $1 million deal. Just get this for me, this is the last thing I'll ask you of. Or the last thing he wanted,
What?
to have his daughter killed.
Why would
I
Yeah.
you?
like it.
What?
I like
like
it.
it.
I like it.
What?
I like it.
I like
I
it.
like it.
Do you
Oh, that
think the
just-
father
Okay.
knew all along she was going to be murdered?
Well, it's just in
No.
game thinking, that would have been the
a
last thing he
possibility,
wanted, is
but-
to have his daughter involved and only to be killed.
Why?
He didn't want her killed.
He didn't want her
Right.
killed. It's
That's
the last thing he wanted.
The last thing I wanted
Get
was
his little
for
girl
my daughter
killed.
to be
So he
dying
didn't
and
want
killed.
her. He didn't want her involved.
He wanted her to get $1 million.
I like it. Thank you, John.
I'm
Yeah.
raising mine up a point.
You're blowing my
I was
mind.
gonna say mine.
That's worth a point there. Then you go. Okay, who wants to go first?
Do we have to?
No, but
Okay, good.
then because, but then
I'm
when
out.
when we
So I'll
come to
go
rate
first.
them.
I'll go first.
Okay, you go first.
Because I picked the book, so it's a 10. Because I picked the book.
Okay, what did you give Hunter Thompson?
Yeah.
A 10? That's like perfect.
Because
Come
these
on
are
now,
similar kinds
Jason.
of.
The Rum
Perfect.
Diary.
Yeah,
I thought that was a 7 or 8.
7.
8.
Okay.
I really liked that.
What?
The Rum Diary.
I mean, I'll give it an 8. In that, I'm not sure I would have gave it an 8 at the start of our discussion, but now that's all over, I do, because she's such an interesting author and person. You know, like I can't believe I never really heard of her before. So I'm giving her 8. I like the story. I like the genre, and that's where I'm at. 8. She's averaging.
So the Rum Diaries, I would give a 5, and Joan Didion, I would give a 6 because
But you watched the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that might be
And
because I
should
watched the movie and I've only gone to 73% of the book. But I also could never believe that a girl would sign on to this just because her father asked her to.
You just said you'd do anything for your father. You just said that. So you don't see the character would be willing to do that plus $1 million?
But I lied when I said
Oh,
that.
well, I just want to be clear.
But
I'm
the
just
only-
not-
I lied that
The
when
only
I
thing
said that
she-
about my dad because I would not do anything.
Okay.
I am my own person.
But if you
My
said-
dad is not going to tell me what
Yeah,
to
but
do.
if he said,
I
Patty,
was always
Patty,
against
if he,
authority.
Patty, if he said, would you fly down to Costa Rica and pick up $1 million for me, you would do it.
I'd go to
Not for
Costa
him.
Rica.
If I knew I got a cut of
Yeah,
it.
I would go to Costa Rica, especially if he paid for the flight.
Yeah.
I would meet his friends and go out to dinner, but I would be very leery of the $1 million. I'd only
So
go
6.
for the trip.
But if you had to, if the trip only.
I mean, I think you have to look at the context too. The guy's dying. He
Yeah,
has
I mean-
dementia. He, you know, he's. This has been his thing for his entire career was doing a deal.
And
Doing
he's
a deal.
messed up.
Getting a
He
deal.
messed up her life because of doing these deals all her life. Because he was never there for her.
I missed that part.
That's the movie.
That's the movie.
That's the movie.
I missed
No,
the part where he
that's the book. She only sees him every so often. She doesn't have a very good relationship with him.
Ah.
In the book.
Well, it's not your typical father-daughter relationship, no. But I didn't get the feeling that she hated her father, that she didn't love her father. He was just this guy who was always out for the deal, and here he is. He's dying. She goes down there, and he says, "Just do this one thing for me. You know, you go down, you get the money, you come back." And he even said, "You get the money and you come back. You don't stay there."
And I say to
get
my
the money
dad,
and
"Are
come
you
back?"
crazy?"
but remember, I think if I have this right, she was in the L.A. airport. She was going to get a ticket for, I think, D.C. or somewhere like that, and she said, I don't know what happened, but I just found myself with a ticket to Miami.
To
And
see
now-
your dad.
And now I'm in Miami.
All
And
right.
she wasn't some naive little
No.
girl, you know.
No.
She'd been a reporter. She'd been
Yeah.
on the campaign. She'd done, you know. So it wasn't like she was.
Yeah,
some-
that's why it surprised me that she would do something so crazy
I
as
guess
this.
Well,
That's
that's
why it
interesting because to
didn't
me that's why
surprise
she
me.
would because she was aware of all that and possibly the part of all of us it's like, ooh, here's adventure and it's going to work out for me.
And I'm
doing
like,
it.
Dad, no one gives you $1 million for nothing.
But-
This
but
he
at
was
the
So
giving-
time-
let Jan finish
This
her
has got to be
rate.
a crazy
It-
deal.
it was for the gun
and I
sale.
don't think I'm part of that.
But at the time she made her decision to do this, she didn't know about the $1 million deal. She was heading back to her life, and this is described so many times where your rational mind is taking you in this one direction, and all of a sudden your hand is doing something else.
Yeah.
It comes up with a Miami ticket, so your heart or something's taken over.
Yeah.
And
Well,
she's now in Miami, and then once she's in Miami, then that makes there's a little bit more impetus to keep going. Whatever got her there, now you're going, well, maybe I'm fully supportive of what got me here. And she doesn't understand totally about why she did what she did. She's just
So you
there.
guys totally bought into. You guys thought, well, I can go along with this because I might do the same thing.
No, I'm with Joan, where she's saying, I want to find out why did she do this?
Yeah.
And so that's what I am here as a reader, trying to figure
He's a
out.
narrator.
I see.
But
Yeah.
I looked.
I see.
I tried to find
I
reviews
see.
that said because I didn't understand what the last thing was that he wanted, and so I tried to find questions or reviewers that identified that, and nobody does.
So okay, Jan. Do
I'm
you
gonna give it a 9
9?
because I thought the ending was kind of crappy.
It was pretty lame.
This business about I wish they'd always been together or something like that. I thought it was just
They
kind of
deserve to be
sappy.
together.
Yeah, but other than that, I like it.
Can you say
That's a
who
pretty good
they are that deserve to be together?
Elaine and Treat. She said
Oh,
something
okay.
about
So Pam, if you want to rate just based on the discussion, feel free. You think it probably was a pretty good book?
Potentially.
Have you ever been curious
So it could
about
be an
Jen
8 or 9.
Vivian?
So it could have been.
No, I've never heard her.
You never heard of her. Watch.
And
that.
Barb, you don't want to do what?
Pass.
What?
Too much pressure.
Why?
I don't want to.
She's her own woman.
Yeah, Patty.
And you can't
You
make
got
her.
But not for $1 million. $1 million, and my dad asked me to.
If you're
I
down.
might go.
The last thing she wanted.
But Barb, this is my book for the book of the year. This score.
What about John? John hasn't given.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
Well,
I can
what
back
about-
up because I have a Monopoly game and I can give her $1 million to do the rating.
But you're not her dad.
Oh,
Sorry.
Will you give her Park Place too?
Ooh.
that's a trick.
Boardwalk. Anyway.
But wait, is he anything like your dad?
No.
No. Okay.
Oh, I take that back. Yes, he does have some traits like my father. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My father adored my mother and would do anything for her. And I don't know if you do anything for Jan, but I do know that
I think you
adore her.
would.
I have done everything for her. Not everything. Anything.
Like dinner tonight.
Like
Yeah.
dinner tonight.
I ate her dinner. What
He,
more did you do?
he allowed her to. He gave her space. To
Exactly.
Yeah.
To do what she needed to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. She
Okay.
panicked that the magic would not bring the food on the table, and there it was. It was on the table again.
And you said, Jan, it's gonna get there.
Yeah, it'll be
Sounds
there.
weird.
Yeah.
It always does.
It always
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. Just put yourself in my place. It's always there.
Trust,
I
trust the
told
leprechaun.
John last night. We made this dessert yesterday with the kids, and it was so
Said it.
rich. I was just like, I'm only going to be able to give.
Yeah.
Good pick,
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Tiny little
pick.
piece,
Like
and they're
You don't
want
wanna
to
give a rating.
Yeah, I didn't
put
give a
some
rating.
fruit with it, and then I thought,
You mean
Jen
on the
doesn't like
recorder?
fruit. And I was like,
I
what am
was
gonna
thinking
do?
about giving
Jen
it a
doesn't like
10,
fruit,
and then I
gotta
was
do
thinking,
something
well, maybe a 6,
I was
and I
like,
thought, well, I'm going to
Jen,
wait
so
till
here's
Jan does it. She gave it a 9, so I'm thinking, well,
Bring on the fruit.
you know, it's hard to
And by
get
the
anything
way,
8, 9, or a 10, but I'll give it a 9, 10,
A 9, 10?
a 9 or a 10.
So that's like a
So there
9.5.
aren't
I mean,
very
Moby
many
Dick is
things
a
in
10,
this book
so,
Yeah.
you know, that's,
He doesn't
so,
like
it's,
tomatoes either.
but
It's either
in the spirit of,
either raw or
Good
cooked.
books.
One of
but
the
again, if it's a
Oh,
10, you would
gosh,
recommend
I've
it to other
never known
people,
that.
but it's,
Wait a minute. I'm
could
gonna
you
hear John's
recommend this
vote.
to them?
Good,
I want to hear
good,
your vote.
I
good
don't-
choice.
Yeah, I don't know that most people picking up this book would read all the way through it.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to like reading to enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's somewhere I'm surprised you guys are giving it a 10. I mean, to me, you didn't find it.
He
a
did give
little-
it a 10.
Like
I get-
10 means
I-
it's like
Yeah,
like
10
I-
is
perfect.
like the.
Like
But I
whatever.
picked
well,
I
we
picked
didn't
it.
have we
I had to
didn't
give it a
define
And it's
the
the
system. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We
John,
didn't
go.
define the rating system.
That's true.
Like,
too.
is this like just a 1 to 10 that's just like a neighborhood book club sort of rating? Or is it
Mm-hmm.
a Moby Dick? Was it a Moby Dick 10? Or,
Well, we live in different neighborhoods.
Jason.
well,
Wait,
was-
All right.
I could have voted
Thanks,
a
Jason.
6.
It was a good book.
Oh,
Wait.
thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Wait, John hasn't
John
done.
hasn't.
I'm already on there.
Oh,
What did
I have
you
to
say?
listen now?
Well, it's like I was saying, I could have given it a 6. And then the other thing is would I recommend, if you're going to give it a 10, 8, 9, 10, would you recommend this book to other people? And I find that to be difficult to recommend.
Right.
So that takes away from a 10 or 9ness.
Right.
But I could easily give it a 7 plus, or 9.
And I appreciate that though, because see, the reason I probably don't want to necessarily vote is because it's hard for me to separate who she is as a writer and the other works that she's done, but I would not consider this one of her
Yeah,
better books. But if I give her a 4, then I'm like saying something bad about Joan Didion.
Yeah.
I'm disagreeing with,
Yeah.
I'm agreeing
Yeah.
with what is the criteria for voting.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well,
idea, but I would not.
we'll get better
recommend
at
that
it.
book.
But if you don't
Just
like
like-
if you don't like political thrillers, you wouldn't particularly take to this book.
But
Well, even if
you're-
for me, I don't know that it was that well written of a political thriller. I got
Oh, I
a
see.
little,
Yeah.
you know.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, I interrupt.